blessings include reflecting on experiences in all forms. And for me, this leading up to Easter weekend on the 1st of April 2021, it's about family, it's about neighbours, friendships, and how we are realising through this global pause that connecting with other humans is really important. And we're challenged by the absence of connection. There are so many stories I've heard listening to people throughout my travels around the significance of feeling welcome when we go somewhere. For me, more recently here, it's been feeling welcome to knock on a door of a neighbour and having conversations. Where I am here in Brisbane, we've just come out of a 3-day pause, a lockdown, and again it has reminded me of how vital it is for us to thrive, that we have connection with people who genuinely care about us as individuals, as humans. And through conversations with people abroad, my family, my kids overseas, and here in Australia, it's so evident that we can busy ourselves with so many things, and yet when we're required to stay indoors for a shorter time as 3 days, all these things come up within us that remind us of how, if there was one thing that we could have, it'd be that hug, that smile, that acknowledging that we matter, that place of belonging within our hearts that's becomes palpable, doesn't it? And yet, so we came out of lockdown at 12 o'clock today, ahead of the Easter long weekend and leading into in Australia, there's spring school holidays. So rather the autumn holidays. I've been chatting with a lot of people in the Northern Hemisphere lately, so entering into spring there, autumn here. And it's such a defining moment when we receive that message through the airwaves that rather than 5 o'clock this afternoon, we would be informed about being good to go back out into the community or not, depending on the situations and medical advice. 12 o'clock came and it was, wow, free to walk outside, and many of us did. It's interesting timing. There's so many variables, aren't there, to us feeling free to choose whether we go out or not. And more and more of us that I'm having conversations with anyway are more in acceptance of, well, yes, there's this global pandemic happening. And I know for my kids overseas particularly, it's been a real treacherous, isolating experience. And it continues to be for many. And it's, as I chat with people overseas, it's, including my kids, questioning what's the difference between how we're navigating it here in Australia and what's happening in Europe, in the States, from my experience anyway. And in other countries. It becomes overwhelming, doesn't it? It seems to be such a difference in approach, a difference in prioritising, choosing to contain people within their homes for their own safety and for others, versus here in Australia, well, we do feel so much more freedom. And to honour that. It's such a contrast to the experiences of family and friends across different continents. Regardless, though, many are accepting of their circumstances and abiding by regulations and taking the precautions that are essential there. And in so many ways, I guess by default, we're conscious of it all here. Which brings about compassion, gratefulness, empathy, and awareness of difference. Patience, allowing, tolerance of difference. And many of us are feeling different about what matters more now. You ask, what matters to you now? It's like that I have my family around me, that I have communication devices and technology that I can connect with virtually now, that I can conduct business differently. It's an appreciation of space and distancing. In so many ways, we're more accessible to people, should we choose to be. I personally am living a 24-hour clock, really, because I connect with people in many time zones. For me, many of the constructs that have bound us as humans, I guess, in economies and are changing, aren't they? It's okay to engage back in creative activities that we put on hold when we're caught up in so many other things. I remember years of being fully focused in raising up children, and through various stages being so in this routine, bound by the clock to get things done in 24 hours. And you repeat again the next day and the next day. So we have the experience of living life at certain times. And I guess for me, this is another phase. And it's inviting us to explore ourselves in a much deeper level. And in so many ways, that's a good thing. As we're coming up to a Easter long weekend, we choose to travel like we used to do. Is it okay to be at home, tie up some loose ends, engage with some projects that you have on the go? So many of us are becoming more comfortable, I guess, being at home. It takes time, doesn't it? I remember coming back from my global adventure journey this time last year, and after being, walk about around the planet on 4 continents, it was experiencing different cultures, meeting new people, speaking different languages. It was really a contrast coming back to in-home isolation. And in so many ways, for me, I would have taken that time anyway, coming back home. There's one thing about choosing it, and then another way, when you're forced into a particular situation of isolation, I guess for me, I noticed it more. And I don't think any of us really knew what it would mean. I've noticed in different countries are handling it very, very differently. Again, everything has consequences. Choice has consequences. Impact is profound in so many ways. The way we view time, the way we view spaces has changed. And guidance is inviting us now to align with a way of being human on earth. To be more real, to be more present. There's no guarantee of what tomorrow is going to bring. Any moment we could be in another lockdown. What I'm really grateful for is there's a greater allowance now as to how people respond, a greater sense of, well, this is greater than me. yet how I respond is totally my responsibility. And again, conversations I'm having with many now is all about taking personal responsibility for everything in our world. Being really honest with ourselves, living our truth. We've all had opportunities now to redefine what matters to us by way of what we do in a day, how we show up, how we relate, how we connect back in with ourselves. And that's essential. There aren't the distractions, in inverted commas, that we would have previously tapped into as being a priority. Being confined with others, in confined space is an adjustment that's required to be made. Everything's an adjustment, isn't it? And that's it. Choosing to adjust. And being more at peace within ourselves is a choice. I'm finding so much more peace within me. Not so caught up on the loving opinions of others. Taking full responsibility for who I'm being in every moment, and trusting that guidance within me is constantly holding me to account to be in that consciousness of the greater good. And I wouldn't have had necessarily the courage, the time, perceivably, to go so deeply within and question so much more. Allowing truth, divine truth, to be my purpose. And I invite everyone to take that moment. For me, it's been a significant, longer moment, and that's okay. Because everything has its season. And it does allow us to tap back into our creative core, honouring our Earth days every day. Being in total presence as the gift we be. Observing our languaging. Redefining boundaries. Ways of engaging, relating, connecting. It's time. It's beautiful living here where I am, and we now have a way of leaving our front doors open here on our floor in the apartment building. And when the doors open, it's like, oh, I can knock there and have a chat, catch up for a cup of tea, offload some things, share some things. a few times I be cooking something and someone stick their head around the corner and through the front door and say, wow, what are you cooking? And we share recipes and ingredients and ideas, and it's exciting, it's fun. It's that validation of being in that creative flow and sharing the experience. So many people I know have changed jobs for various reasons, connected more with partners, children, siblings, realizing that, wow, at different events we would have said, we must do this again soon, and it just didn't happen. Now it's happening more, perhaps. There's a shift in the energy of humanity. And whilst many are doing it really tough, for me, my greatest contribution in support of all of that is to be aware. Send love out into the universe, out into the world. Whatever I share is of a vibration that is healing, that is giving, that is honouring, that is kind, that is my truth. Once upon a time I felt I had to burn the candle at both ends, provide for others in this role and that role and multiple roles in community and organisations, and then home, and then for my personal well-being. So many more people who have been aware of different ways of contributing are now stepping into their roles, speaking with people who are taking greater time and focus to share their healing knowledge, wisdoms, creative opportunities. This is a balancing required. So many women I know are tapping back into their core joy. Pulling back through themselves what they were always here to share. And I'm so delighted that it's acceptable now. So many people are tapping more into having one-on-one conversations, coaching, mentoring, simple conversations, connecting from heart, inviting another's heart to smile, experience the lightness, and so be it. It's time. wherever you feel you're requiring a different way of connecting, trust yourself. Be the you want to hang out with. Be the you feel is welcoming. Be what you're asking for. Be what you want to experience. Be the allowance of receiving, sharing. Be the truth you want to live in this world. Trusting that all is in perfect timing. Mostly notice the conversations with self, because we have a lot of self-time. Keep investing in your awakening process. Find your voice. Breathe. Pause. Be. Still. It's in the stillness that love resides. And that next clue reveals. And knowing that when we ask questions, there's always already an answer. And a resonance to the truth. Honor your blessings in every way. Be the joy you be. Shine your light. Thank you.